Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel, and in this video we are once again going to be setting my lineups across my 3 fantasy leagues. We got some redraft, dynasty, non-PPR, half PPR, one quarterback, Superflex, all sorts of good stuff. We're going to be making some lineup decisions, and I'm just going to go over the transactions I made in my leagues and give you some insight into how I set my real life league. And with that being said, we can get started with our first league. It's the League of Bros. This is a non-PPR one quarterback league. So recapping week 4, I narrowly got the win, a much needed win at that. Taking a quick look at what happened here. Here is the box score. This did come down to the Rams versus 49ers game on Sunday or Monday night. I believe it was Monday night. But yeah, because my opponent had Godwin, Fournette, and Suck Up in the Sunday night game. So none of those guys were really doing much of anything. And then all of a sudden, some crazy stuff happened at the end of the game, and Fournette caught a receiving touchdown. And then, yeah, there was a lot going on. And Godwin, actually, on the last play of the game, they were lateraling the ball, and he got just enough points where instead of needing 7 points from my kicker, I needed 8. So I thought the game was rigged against me, but my kicker, Matt Gay, did end up getting 9 points. So it did work out. But we did lose Javonte Williams for the season. Just a brutal injury for my second round pick, and I hope he comes back strong, but that was a brutal knee injury. And then Jonathan Taylor only had 2.3 points before leaving with an injury, but luckily that one wasn't as serious, and he should be coming back soon. I had Metcalf on the bench. I probably should have started him over Javonte, but with that matchup, him being my second round pick, I was never really going to sit, Javonte. But now I'm going to need Metcalf to keep coming in clutch for me. In terms of transactions here, these are just the transactions that I made for my team. I added Latavius Murray. I put a similar bid in for Mike Boone. I'm not sure how much he went for. I can check that in a sec. In a couple other leagues, I got Boone. In this league, I got Latavius Murray. So we'll see. Melvin Gordon is the clear lead back there as of now, but if he continues to fumble, which he didn't in their Thursday night game, he came close to fumbling, but he was down when he lost the ball. But Murray was not active for that dreadful Thursday night game against the Colts. So once he is active, he might have a role. We'll just have to see. And then I did, even though Matt Gay did come in clutch for me, I added the Cowboys kicker, and I did add DJ Chark and dropped Chase Claypool. But I did actually end up just a few hours ago, dropping DJ Chark because he is actually going to be out again in week 5 after also missing week 4, and then they have a bye week. So I don't want to hold him for week 5 through an injury and then a bye week. And then I'm not going to start him in week 7 in a tough matchup against Dallas. So I might add him week 7, week 8. We'll see off the waiver wire. And I did add Van Jefferson to my team, put him on IR because, that's a savvy move. I had a free IR spot, picked him up, put him on there, which then opened up another spot, and I picked up Sky Moore, the rookie for Kansas City, the rookie wide receiver. And then, as I said, I was going to see how much, what's his name, went for? Mike Boone. And I'm a big Mike Boone fan as a Vikings fan. He went for 32. I think I put in a slightly higher bid for Latavius than Mike Boone, so that's why I ended up getting Latavius over Boone. But as a Vikings fan, I'm familiar with Mike Boone. He's had some good preseason games with us, so I'm hoping he can be something. So for my week 5 matchup, it is now week 5 of the 2022 fantasy football season. I had Courtland Sutton play already, and my opponent had Melvin Gordon, who was bottled up pretty well until I think it was like the fourth quarter or overtime, or a combination of the two. He had a couple chunk plays. So he ended up with 10 points. So that's pretty solid for Melvin Gordon, but it's not like it's a week winning performance for him. My opponent is going to be without Kyle Pitts. And he does have Mike Gesicki, so he'll probably just play Gesicki against the Jets. If he didn't have a backup tight end, what I would do is go to the waiver wire, go to tight end, and just see who is someone he could pick up. There's really no one that crazy, So if he didn't have a backup option, I could pick up Komet or Mo Ali Cox or Evan Ingram or Irv Smith just to kind of block my opponent from having someone. But they're all kind of, the same tier. He's probably just going to roll with Gesicki anyways, and this way I don't have to drop another player. So setting the lineup for my squad here, Kirk Cousins is my quarterback. You know, against the Bears, sometimes my Vikings do struggle, but I'm going to roll with him. On the waiver wire, there isn't anyone too great. I mean, there's Carson Wentz, Eddie filling in for Tua. I mean, Andy Dalton in a decent matchup, you know, against Seattle. But I'm just going to roll with Kirk Cousins. He's been solid for me for fantasy. As you can see, he's been a bit up and down, but I'm going to roll with him. And then Miles Sanders, at this point, is a must start. And the Arizona Cardinals defense isn't that good. So as you can see, guys, he has been tremendous for fantasy. Had a huge game last week against Jacksonville. And we'll talk about, I did start him in this league, but if you guys remember, I sat him in my Dynasty League, and oh, God, it couldn't have been worse. But we'll get into that later. And in this league, like I said, I am without Javonte. And even though Taylor's injury wasn't like a season-ending injury, he did miss that Thursday night game. But luckily, I had Rhamondre Stevenson. He gets to play the Detroit defense, and they can't really stop anyone. So in terms of replacing my number one overall pick, this will do. This will do. He's been good for fantasy. Him and Damian Harris are kind of a nice 1-2 punch for the Patriots. And in this matchup, I think he could be solid. Tyreek Hill is an every week start. He is currently questionable. Limited practice Friday. So if he plays, he's in my lineup. Even with Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback, you never bench Tyreek, especially this year. He's been so good. I already played Sutton, like I said. Metcalf is in the lineup. He's been great the last couple weeks. So he started the season with 2 tougher matchups, didn't do much. Then weeks 3 and 4, he had some good matchups. But then week 5 against the Saints, that's a tough matchup. I'm gonna roll with him, especially since I'm without Jonathan Taylor and Javonte. If Tyreek Hill is ruled out, I'm probably gonna just put Garrett Wilson in the lineup. That's probably my best option. If I have to resort to something else because of another injury, I'd maybe go with Mooney. Even Rachaad White in the flex, I don't want to play him, but he was involved for the Buccaneers in week 4, so he's someone that I am stashing, and I would recommend you do too if you have the bench space. Because I think he might carve out a role for himself, and he is a great handcuff in case Fournette does go down with an injury. And at tight end, I'm going to stick with Njoku. He's been pretty solid the last couple of weeks. I picked him up after his monster week 3 performance. It doesn't look like that great of a performance, 4.7, but he saw a healthy amount of targets. He had 73 receiving yards, which is great for a tight end. He did have -6 rushing yards, and he did lose a fumble, so that kind of made his stats look a little bit worse. And this is not a PPR league, like I said, but he's looking pretty solid the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to stick with him over Dalton Schultz, who is one of my favorite tight ends to draft coming into the season. But he did get injured in week 2 at the end of that game. I think he missed week 3, and the week 4 he played. He saw 3 targets, but didn't catch any of them. So I'm just going to see what happens with him before I put him back in the lineup. And then this is our next league here. Oh, and speaking of that, before we get to the next league, here are our standings. I am sitting at 2-2. This has not been the greatest start. I have the 8th most points in the league and the 8th most points against. So it's going all right in this league, but I really need Jonathan Taylor to get healthy and do what I drafted him to do. That would help a lot. Moving on to our next league. This is our auction league. So both leagues we've looked at so far are redraft leagues. The previous one was a standard snake draft, and then this was an auction draft. And I played the number 1 seed, and I did lose. It was pretty close. Jonathan Taylor and Javonte also really let me down in this league. Jalen Waddle didn't have a great week, and Kirk was not that good. But other than that, my team did pretty well, especially the play of the century here, guys. Geno Smith, I picked him up off the waiver wire to play against Detroit, and my God, he went crazy. He went absolutely ballistic. He connected with DK Metcalf. I had that nice little stack right there. Zach Ertz did well, but it just wasn't enough. It just was not enough to overcome as my opponent. Wentz and Mayfield really did nothing for my opponent, but he had and James Robinson also busted. But other than that, his team was on fire. Derrick Henry had another good game. Kupp and Tyreek were both around 20 points. Jamar Chase had a down week, but still had 10 points. Tyler Higbee, who was turning out to be a nice tight end option that wasn't drafted very high, he had 12. Jamal Williams filling in for DeAndre Swift went nuclear. It is what it is, man. I played the number 1 seed, and I'm proud of the way my team performed, but it just wasn't enough. And we are now 0-4 in this league. That is not a typo. That is a real thing, and that's very sad. So these are the transactions that have been made in this league. You can kind of get a quick overview of what happened around the league if you care. You can just take a look. But I'm just going to kind of go over what I did personally. So I did add Robert Woods. That was on Sunday morning just because I believe Zay Jones was ruled out for week 4. Yes, that's the week that he didn't play. So I'm like, I'm not going to hold on to Zay Jones. My IR spot is full. In this league, you can add players to IR even if they are just out. They don't have to be on injured reserve. But I have Dak and James Robinson on there, so I didn't want to drop them to put Zay Jones there. And Zay Jones actually did get picked up, so I'm a little sad about that. I think he'll be a nice little solid flex option for the season. And then I did drop Javonte, and I picked up Mike Boone for 37. The next closest was 26, so I actually did put in a pretty smart bid there. Nothing too high over what the next highest bid was, but it was just enough to get the job done and add him to the squad. And then it looks like Tyler Algier for the Falcons got added for 55. I would much rather have Mike Boone. I think Boone has much more season-long appeal. And Tyler Algier, without Patterson, he'll get involved, but he's got Tampa Bay and the 49ers, then the Bengals, and Damian Williams will be coming back off of IR. And not to mention Cordero Patterson, his injury I don't think it's going to be a season-ending injury. Last I heard, he's going to come back in a few weeks. So that Tyler Algier ad a lot of people made is something that I was not really keen on doing. I did put in a small bid, but didn't get him. And then this is our matchup for this week in week 5. At the last second, I put Nyheim Hines in for, I believe, Ezekiel Elliott. And he saw 3 opportunities to start the game. He had a dropped pass, and then he ran for 4 yards on the second play of the game, or 3 yards, excuse me. And then he caught a pass for 5 yards where he got concussed. It was a pretty scary scene, but he was ruled out for the game after the first 3 plays. So on the bright side, even though he was only in for 3 plays, he got opportunities on all of them, so it looked like a good call to start him. On the bad side, he got me 1.3 points before he left. So that's just complete and utter bad luck. There's just nothing that you can do about that. And in a league where I need some good luck to go my way, that's just brutal. And here's my opponent. He's got a pretty okay squad, but I like that Najee is playing Buffalo. And I believe Michael Thomas has already been ruled out for my opponent. Is there anything else of note? Amon-Ra is questionable. Mac Jones. He's going with Hopkins over Kittle. And Patterson is on IR for my opponent. So he's down a few people, but he has some decent replacement options. Montgomery is also questionable. And then for my lineup, I'm rolling with Kirk and Geno in this league. Kirk doesn't really excite me, like I said, and Geno is a tough matchup against the Saints, but this is a Superflex league, half PPR, and there's not a bunch of options on the waiver wire at quarterback because, in a Superflex 2-quarterback league, quarterbacks are that much more valuable. So I was lucky to even be able to pick up Geno Smith, so I'm going to start him, and like I said, I am without Dak Prescott. There was thought that maybe he'd be back this week, but against the Rams, I don't know, maybe I would just roll with Geno anyways. It's tough. Or maybe I'd put him, I don't know. I don't have to make the decision. We'll see. Hopefully he comes back and he's good for me. But Aaron Jones is an auto start for my team. Jalen Waddle against the Jets, that's an auto start. Same with Brandin Cooks. DK Metcalf in a tough matchup. I am starting him. Zach Ertz at tight end over Gerald Everett. I like both of these guys. I'm just going to go with Ertz. But both have been good. Everett has been without Keenan Allen on the team. I'm not sure if Keenan Allen is going to be making his return this week or not. He is out. According to this, he is out. So Gerald Everett might be in for another good week. I do like him. And if I do decide to make that change and put Everett in over Ertz, I will always comment it down below and put it in the description if I do make any changes. And I do have some trades sent out there too. So if any trades are made and I need to make some lineup changes, I will also comment that as well. So the real tough decisions here. So first of all, if Jalen Waddle, he's questionable. If he plays, he's in my lineup. If not, I will put Robert Woods in at wide receiver for him. And I'll probably have to start a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, who I don't want to play. And in this flex spot, it was between Robert Woods and Zeke. Listen, as of now, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going with Robert Woods. They're without Burke, their rookie. It's a good matchup against Washington, whereas Zeke, he has a brutal matchup against the Rams and Aaron Donald on that defensive line. No running backs are able to find success against them. And, with Cooper Rush in at quarterback, I know for a backup he's been playing great, but they can kind of just, they don't really have to worry. They can kind of watch Zeke, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, and if Zeke is really starting to dominate them, which I doubt, they can, stack the box and stop it. So, looking at what he's done, he's seeing some solid volume, but just not enough in the passing game, and it's a brutal matchup. So, if he doesn't get in the end zone, I don't think he might get 50 or so yards. I just don't see him getting 100 yards or something, like even 80 yards. I'd be like, wow, that's impressive. So as of now, I'm going with Robert Woods. We'll see what happens. So this is the lineup. I am down bad in this league. I did also lose Javonte Williams in this league, as I mentioned. So, the Javonte Taylor, combo, Javonte and Jonathan Taylor combo has been brutal for me. But we're trying to bounce back. And this is the Dynasty League. I was able to get a win. You can see the box score here. I got the win despite Jonathan Taylor only giving me 2. Tua also on this. So Tua and Taylor were both knocked out early. Taylor, at least, he got knocked out late. You might think he got knocked out in the first quarter, but he just was not getting anything going. 2 points. Tua got concussed early in that game. 2 points. And then James Robinson, 2 points. Kyle Pitts, 3 points. I was still somehow able to win. I did execute a trade in this league where I gave up Jeudy and got McCaffrey. And in the end, I won by about 12 points. Jeudy had 13 for him, and McCaffrey had 21 for me. So I guess that kind of helped me win. Luckily, his quarterback, Mariota, only had 4 points. Akers was a bust. He was the last player between us two, and he needed, he needed 12 more points to get the win. So, yeah, man, it's tough. And I did get the win, even though I did play James Robinson over Miles Sanders, and I did play Tua over Tom Brady. I mean, I feel like in this league, I just cannot make the right lineup call. It feels like I'm leaving 50 points on the bench every week. I played Pitts, who had 3, over Goedert, who had 9.7. So it just seems like each and every week. And obviously, okay, I was never going to play Matt Ryan over Tua. So when he scores 17 and Tua has 2 because of an injury, I don't get upset about that. That doesn't bother me, because that's, you have the, logically speaking, you would never make that call to start Matt Ryan. You have to trust your own process of who to start and think logically. So it is what it is, but luckily we did get Chris Godwin back and he looked all right. But yeah, it's just it's these close calls, Tua or Brady. I started Brady. Tua throws 6 touchdowns. I start Tua, he gets concussed. Brady has his best game of the year. I sit James Robinson every week, the first 3 weeks. He goes off 15, 20 points every week. I finally put him in the lineup. I bench Miles Sanders coming off a down week. And Miles Sanders puts up 27 points. So it's just bad luck. But we did get our first win, so we just have to, get things going again. And then some trades were made. Geno was traded for a second. This team is actually pretty good. They just needed a backup, so this will probably be a late second. And then Aaron Rodgers was traded for a third. So just because of his age and he's missing weapons, so I guess that's why he didn't go for much. And it's a 1 quarterback league, half PPR. Caleb Huntley went for 111 out of 200 fab dollars. And by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier. All of these leagues are 200 fab. So when I bid 37 or whatever on Mike Boone, that's more 18.5% if you were in a $100 league. So I don't know why this team went so hard on Caleb Huntley. It'll be him and Tyler Algier as a duo, but like I said, Damian Williams is coming back, and Patterson will come back eventually, and it's a brutal schedule in the meantime. Plus, if you look at this team, I mean, they got Henry, Gordon, Jacobs, Fournette at running back, Antonio Gibson, Ezekiel Elliott. You know what I mean? He's probably not even going to start Caleb Huntley. So it was just kind of, this is a dynasty league, so maybe he likes him long term. But that's just, you know what I mean? What are the chances Caleb Huntley does anything long term? Probably not much. Mike Boone is someone in Dynasty that I have long considered holding, just because, like I said, as a Vikings fan, I've seen him just look really good in preseason games and stuff. But he was on the waiver wire because, I had no room for him. And once he got an opportunity, I'm like, I'm going to put in a bid. I bid 57. The next highest bid was 25. I'm surprised more people didn't put a bid in for him, especially because, this is a deeper dynasty league, right? So it just seems kind of strange. And then Andy Dalton got picked up for 15. I'm not sure why. You know, he's got Kyler Murray, and he just traded for Geno, and Andy Dalton is the backup. So unless Jameis misses the whole year, you know, or whenever Kyler Murray has his bye week, this was a strange addition, but whatever. And then I didn't get Kyler Murray, or sorry, Latavius Murray, because I already had a bid, and I didn't get Philip Lindsay because my roster is full, and someone did pick up Philip Lindsay. But Latavius Murray, he's still a free agent in this league. I just realized that. I should definitely... I mean, he played, so I can't put a bid in for him now. But he's someone that I'm going to try to add going into next week. I'm surprised. I mean, this league is very deep. So 30-man rosters plus a 5-man taxi squad. I'm surprised he didn't get picked up. So far this week, I played Courtland Sutton. He was pretty mid. That's all there really is to say. Mike Boone on the bench had 10. That's about all I can say so far about that. So setting my lineup for this week, Tom Brady, I'm going with him. Tua's not playing. I do like Trevor Lawrence, but he's still on the taxi squad from last year. I can keep him on there for the rest of this year if I need to. I think he'll have a good game against Houston, but I'm starting Brady. He always destroys Atlanta, and he's got his weapons back finally. McCaffrey's an auto start. I am going to start Miles Sanders. I learned my lesson last week. Of course, I started Miles Sanders this week, and I sat him this week. With James Robinson, I sat him this week, and that week, the first 3 weeks, and then I finally started him. He has 2 points. But in week 5, James Robinson gets the Texans. It's going to be a much better game script, and it's a great matchup. The Philadelphia defense is pretty good, so I'm rolling with James Robinson, and if you can buy low on him, I would. And then Miles Sanders, like I said, auto start, and I'm rolling with Joe Mixon at the flex. He's seeing the volume, just not much in terms of efficiency. Their O-line isn't really getting it figured out yet, but he can produce for fantasy. And he almost had a couple touchdowns last week. He did get in the end zone once, but he could have had 2. And then Mike Williams coming off a good game and playing him, especially with no Keenan Allen. But he's pretty much a guy I start every week. And he has his highs and lows, but you keep him in there so that when the highs do hit, he's in the lineup. And then Chris Godwin, I am starting him for the first time this year over DJ Moore, who is a tough matchup, and he hasn't been great. You know, the quarterback play, as usual, has been bad. And then Jonathan Taylor is out. So if Taylor was playing, I would once again have to toil between James Robinson and Miles Sanders. At this point, I would maybe even just have sat Joe Mixon just so I don't have to regret my start-sit call between these two. And they're both been playing well, so that might have been something I did actually. But luckily, I don't have to make that call. And luckily, I do have depth in this league. But if you look at this team, this is a 10-team league. This is a 10-team league as well, and this was a 12-team league. The first one we looked at. If you look at this team, this should not be a 1-3 team, in my opinion. So we've just gotten a little bit unlucky, but you know, we'll get Hopkins back hopefully. Taylor will get healthy, and hopefully he can produce like he did last year. And then Kyle Pitts is out, so I am going with Dallas Goedert. I probably would have played Goedert anyways, just because the Philadelphia offense I like better. It's a good matchup with the Cardinals. Kyle Pitts, though, I thought maybe he could have a bounce back game. I guess we'll never know. But the Bucks, you know, the Falcons love to run the ball, but they're not going to be able to do it against Tampa Bay. And they, from what they can probably get exploited from the tight end position a little bit more. So hopefully, you know, the Falcons, they probably would have had to throw it a little bit and probably targeted Pitts. But like I said, we'll never know. And yeah, this is the lineup for this week. I'm hoping that we can bounce back here. So we're 2-2, 0-4, and 1-3. So it has not been a fairy tale start, but it's going to be a fairy tale finish. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more fantasy football videos. I do these videos just to give you an insight into my leagues, but I do make some other more advice videos, mainly starts of the week. But I used to do buy low, sell high videos. I might start those up eventually at some point. But yeah, I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Peace out.